Hi, welcome to the AutoCAD Online course. We're going to take a look at Module 6 today. In Module 6, we're going to go through additional fundamentals, and in this example we're going to go through and draw a floor plan. And the floor plan drawing assignment is located right here on the side. If we click on it, we can open it up and take a look at it. I've already downloaded it to my desktop so that I can bring it off to the side. And in order to complete this drawing, we will need a copy of the B-size architectural title block. And so right here is the link for that. If you click on that and select open, it will open in your AutoCAD drawing. And as you can see now, we have opened this title block. We're in paper space, or what's known as layout mode, and we have our B-size or 11 by 17 title block. When we work on these drawings, we're going to work on them in model space. So down here we have these different tabs. The tab to the left is model, which means that we will draw the object here, and it's essentially an infinite drawing board. Getting back to the setup of our drawing, you're going to want to make sure that the toolbars, or the menu bar rather, is enabled. And so my menu bar is enabled. We can see that it's there. And you also want to see that your object snaps are also enabled so that we don't see the icons. And so use icons is actually disabled. We're going to start this drawing on the wall layer, which is the layer that is up by default. And what we'll do is I'm going to minimize this here, and I'm going to bring in the drawing. There we go. We're going to use the architectural title block, which we've opened, and we're going to use draw and modify commands to construct the floor plan. We'll start off by using the proper layers, and proper layer meaning we'll do the walls on the wall layer, we'll put our dimensions on dimension layers, center line on center line layers. We'll obtain drawing symbols from Design Center. Now, we haven't done this before, and so I'll show you how that works. There's a lot of content out there that you can insert in your drawings. Everything from standard plumbing fixtures to nuts and bolts and gears and things like that. So let's get started. Okay, this drawing is a drawing of a hotel room, and the overall dimensions of this is 17 feet by 18 feet. If we read through this drawing, we'll see that the walls are 5 inches for the interior walls and 6 inches for the outside wall. And the outside wall is this wall right here with the windows located on it. The rest of these walls are going to be 5 inches. And so we'll start off by using the line command. And before we do, I just want to check my settings down here at the bottom. I'm going to want to have polar enabled. I'm going to have OSNAP enabled, and I'm going to have dynamic enabled. I'm also going to turn on the LWT button so that we can see our line weights. I'll start off by clicking on line, and then I'll select the spot on the screen as my starting point. Now track this line out, and the distance for this is going to be 17 feet. So I'll say 17 and the foot mark. I'll track north, and this will be 18 feet. I'll track to the west, and that'll be 17 feet. Whoops. And I'll bring it back to the point of origin, and you'll notice I'll get an object snap for that. And so that represents the size of the room. I'll increase the magnification by turning the wheel on the mouse and pushing the wheel on the mouse to pan it. We'll start by doing the exterior wall, which is 6 inches thick, and so what we'll do is we'll come over here to the offset command, select offset, specify the distance, 6. Now you don't have to put the inch mark, so 6 by itself is fine. We'll select the line to offset and the side to offset, and so that line is now offset 6 inches. We'll also offset the other lines, but before we do, we need to do this little cutout right here. And so this area here is 6 feet 1 inches and 3 feet. And so we'll offset a distance of 6 feet 1 this line to this side, and then we'll come back here and we'll say offset 3 feet, and we'll offset this line to this side. There's a few different ways that we can trim this out. The best way is to just use our trim command here. So we'll select trim, select the objects to trim, or just hit enter to make all of them cutting lines. And so we'll hit enter, and then we'll trim the parts we want to get rid of. I want to get rid of this, and I want to get rid of this and this. You'll notice that I can't get rid of this. That's because it won't trim it to a zero length entity. What I have to do is I have to erase this, and so I'll select erase, and then I'll select that line and hit enter. The other walls are 5 inches thick, and so what we'll do is we'll offset the other walls 5 inches, and so we'll say offset, specify the amount, 5. Like I said, you don't need the quotation marks to represent inches, and so these will all be offset to the inside 5 inches. Rather than use the trim command, I'm going to use fillet with a radius of 0, and it's a nice way to corner it. And so I'll say fillet. I'll check my radius by selecting down arrow and radius, and my radius is set for 0, so I'll hit enter to accept that, and then I'll select the adjacent edges, right mouse click, repeat fillet, adjacent edges, right mouse click, repeat fillet. So now we have the exterior walls completed, and we're going to do the interior walls. And so we're going to work on this area right over in here. And so this is a closet, and we'll locate the wall for that the doors are mounted to a distance of 2 feet 7.5 inches to the center from this outside line here. And so what we'll do, actually from the center of this line here, and so what we'll do is we'll say offset 2 feet 7 dash 1 divided by 2, enter. We'll select this line, and we'll select this side, and that's going to give us the center line that goes through this wall. And so what I'll do is I'll click on it to put a grip on it, and then what I'll do is I'll click on that grip to make that hot, and we can pull it to this line, and then we can also change that layer on that to a layer, we'll put it on layer 0, and we'll change the color of that to red so that we can see it. So that represents the wall that we're going to use to construct the bathroom and also some closet space. Next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to then offset that 2.5 inches to each side for our 5-inch wall thickness. So I'll say 2 dash 1 divided by 2. Select the line and the side, select the line and the side. Now these lines need to be on the wall layer. So there's a easy way to fix that. I'll click on it. It'll be highlighted with a grip, and then I will select the wall layer. I also need to put it back on its bi-layer color because I did override the color, and then I'll hit the escape key and do it again. A faster way to do it would be to use this command right here, which is match properties. Match properties will match this line to be like that. And essentially what it does is it says, okay, take the source object, and then whatever I click on after that, making it exactly the same. And so it'll take on the same properties like layer and line type and line color. We're going to offset this line right over here 6 inches. So we'll say offset 6. And then we'll offset that that line again 6 inches. But before we do, we have to extend out a line this way. And so what we'll do is we'll select this line here by clicking on it. And again, this is a good example of how to use grips. And so we'll click on this grip, making it hot, and then we'll stretch that to right here to that line. And we'll hit escape to clear that grip out. We'll do it again with this line here. We'll click on that line, click on the blue square to make the grip hot, and we'll bring that out like this. We can also shorten lines by clicking on this line and pulling it back. We cannot trim with grips though, and so in order to get this area here so that it looks like this, we'll have to use the trim command. And so we'll say trim, enter, and then we'll click on the part to be removed. And so that has trimmed that. And we can also trim this part here to clear that up. We can trim out this part here, and here. And then we'll offset that line, actually on this side, 6 inches. So we'll say offset 6, this line to this side. And then we'll extend that line out. So I hit escape there, grab this grip, bring that up, grab this grip, bring this up, hit escape. Again, we'll trim, enter, and parts to be removed. And so that's our basic closet opening. We want to put our shelf in, and we want to locate that shelf 1 foot 3 inches to the edge of the shelf. And then we're going to have another line, a dotted line, that's going to be located 1 foot, which is going to be the closet rod. And so we'll offset that line 1 foot from here to here, and then we'll come back here and again say offset, and we'll say 1 foot 3, and we'll then offset this line to this side. To put the line on the proper layer or the proper line type, what we'll do is we'll select that, and then we'll say for our line type we want a hidden line, and it's not shown here. And so what I'm going to need to do is to select other, and I'm going to load a line type for hidden. And so I'll say load, and I'll come down here and find a hidden line. I'm going to take this one right here. I'll say OK, and then I'll set it by clicking on it and say OK. And what I can then do is click on this line, and then I can go to my properties and say make that line hidden, and let's change the color on that to blue. Now you'll notice we don't see any hidden lines, and so I'm going to zoom in on it, and you can see it if I'm zoomed in really close. And that's because I need to set something called an LT scale. And so I'll type LT SCALE, and I'll set that line type scale at 24. And 24 is a good line weight scale. 48 would be 1/4 of an inch equals a foot. So let's try that. LT scale, and let's say 48. Don't think so. Let's go back to 24. And that's our scale that we will set that up. Line type scales are essentially the inverse of the plot scale, or the common denominator of a plot scale. And we'll talk about that in Chapter 8. Let's continue to make our construction to put in the area for the door for the bathroom. And so what we'll do is we'll locate the center line of this door 6 feet 10 inches from the outside wall. So we'll offset 6 feet 10. And then that door opening is 2 feet, and so we'll offset that. And actually I think it's 2 feet 6, but from an example of making this an accessible door for somebody in a wheelchair, I'm going to update this to be 3 feet. And so I'm going to offset this 1.5 feet to each side. So we'll offset this 1 foot 6 inches to this side and to this side. And then we will trim, enter, and we'll remove this, 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 this. And like I said, we can't trim these out. It won't do a 0 length. And so I'll click on them to select them, and then I will delete them. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is we are going to select this line. I'm going to just kind of bring this up a little bit, and I'm going to use that center line like I talked about, to match the properties. And so I'm going to say match properties. I want this to be the original look, and I want this one to look like that. And so I'll match that property with that line. So now we have our bathroom walls located, and what we want to do is to insert the bathroom fixture. And so what we'll do is we'll say insert block, and in the block table for this drawing there is a bathtub. And what we'll do is we'll select that 36 by 60 bathtub, and we'll say OK here, and we'll bring this drawing, this bathtub in, and then we will rotate it. And so what I'll do is I'll click on it with a grip, I'll click on that grip, and I will hit the space bar. First mode is stretch, move, and then the third one is rotate. So I'll rotate this up, then I'll click on this grip again, and I'll move it into place. There are other ways to use the rotate command. We could use it just from the modify command in the home menu, and we'll take a look at that as we get farther on down the line. I'm also going to insert the toilet, and so I'll say insert, and this time rather than to grab the toilet from the title block table, I'm going to show you how you can get that from the design center. And so the design center is located right here, and so I can select design center, and here it is. And I can open this up, and what it will do is open up these different blocks that are within the AutoCAD program. And what I'm looking for is the toilet, and so I'm going to close this home space planner, and then I'm going to navigate over to the home designer, and I'm going to click on the blocks, and I'm going to be able to then grab this top view of a toilet, and so I'll grab that and drop that in. And then I'll also see if I can find a sink. Yes, here's my sink. I'll bring that in, and I'll also bring in my faucet from the bathroom in the top view, and so I'll drop that in. I can then close this. Design Center is a lot friendlier. You can see the images of the drawings before you insert them, and so I'm going to take these objects, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them onto the furniture layer, so we have some contrast to them. So I'm going to select them, and then I'm going to select layer furniture, and we could just as easily made it a plumbing layer if we wanted to. And then I'm going to move them. I can move this with a grip, and so I'll put a grip on it. I'll click that grip. I'll bring it over here. I can rotate that. If I click on the grip and hit the space bar, I'll toggle from stretch mode to move mode to rotate mode, and I'll rotate it 90 degrees, and then I'll place that by clicking on it with a grip and putting it right there. Next thing I'll do is to offset this line right here 2 feet to the side, so I'll say offset 2 feet. I'll select this line, and I'll select this side. And again, we'll then take our block with a grip, and we'll locate that. And there aren't any dimensions to put it in there exactly. You're welcome to go ahead and center that and measure that. I hit the space bar to get to the rotate mode. I'll bring that out. I'll hit escape, and then I'll put in my faucet. And so here's my faucet. Click on that. I'll bring it over here. And what I will do is I'm going to make a copy of it. I'll say copy. Select it. So now I have 2 faucets, one for the sink and one for the tub. And I will rotate this. Let's use the old-fashioned rotate command. Select the object to rotate, hit enter, center of rotation, and we'll turn that, and we'll put a grip on it, select that grip, and we'll locate that right about there. And we'll do the same thing for the other fixture. So we'll put a grip on it, or we'll rotate it, about here. I'll turn it 180 degrees, put a grip on it, select that line, and we'll put it right about. Now my O-snap is grabbing different points, and so I'm going to turn off my O-snap so I can more accurately place it. And so I'll place it right there. Okay, so now we have completed the drawing with the walls and the fixtures for the plumbing. What we need to do then is to locate the windows and put the dimensions on along with the door. And so the door is located over in this spot, and what we'll do is we'll locate that off of our print. And so we'll take a look at this print, and what we'll see is that that door is a 3-foot door, and it's located 12 feet 4.5 inches from the outside edge. And so I'll say offset 12 feet 4-1 divided by 2, and then I'll select this outside line and put it over on, whoops, that wasn't quite right. Let's try that again. And it's located 12 feet 4.5 inches. So we'll say offset 12 feet 4-1 divided by 2. I'm reading the wrong dimension. It's 7 feet 6 inches. Let's try it one more time. Offset 7 feet 6 inches. This line to this side. Okay, so we've located the center line of our door. We'll offset that 1 foot 6 inches to each side to make an opening. And then we'll trim that. And so we'll select trim, enter, and we'll trim out these lines. We'll erase these two lines by clicking on them and then selecting the erase command. We'll take this line and we'll stretch it back with a grip, and then we'll stretch it out this way a little bit, and then we'll match properties with our red line, and there we go. We'll insert the door using tools, palettes, tool palettes, and what we'll go to is the architectural tab, and we can get a door. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my door layer, and I'm going to select this imperial door, which means inches, and I'll click and drag that into the drawing. And this is what's known as a dynamic block, meaning I can change the size of it. So if I click on it and I click on this arrow or hover over that arrow, it will give me the size of the door. And I'll click on that and bring it back to 3 inches. And then what I'll do is I'll also check on some of these other parameters, like the size of the wall. I'll bring that to 5 because it's an interior door. And then I'll also click on this line, and I will open this 90 degrees. And I will rotate this 90 degrees. Now it doesn't rotate with a dynamic block, and so what I'll do is I'll just use my rotate command. I'll select it, hit enter, and I'll rotate it from here 90 degrees. Now that I have that, I'm going to just move it, and so I'll say move. I'll turn on my object snap, and now move this door, enter, from the endpoint to the endpoint. And we have now located our door. Last thing that I need to locate is the window openings, and those are located 3 feet 3 inches and 5 feet 1 inches respectively from this side. And so I'm going to use the offset command, and I'm going to offset 3 feet 3 inches. And then I'm going to offset 5 feet 1. The window openings are 36 inches wide by 48, and that information is given right here. And so what I'll do is I'll offset this 1 foot 6 inches to each side. And I'll do the same with this other one. Actually, I think I'll make one and then I'll copy it. So I'll do one window, and what I'll do is I'll say trim, enter to here. And then what I'll do is these window panes, they're not given, but it's a 6-inch wall and there's 2 of them, so we'll offset this 2 inches and 2 inches to represent the window panes. So we'll say offset 2, select this line to this side, and we'll do that again, and then we'll trim these window pane lines. And we'll have to go and delete any of the extra geometry that might be out there. Looks like we got it all. And then what we'll do is we'll copy it. So we'll say copy. We'll select a window around that. And I'm using a blue window so that it only selects what's entirely within that. I'll hit enter to end the object selection. I will then locate the base point where I'm moving it from, and I'll click, and then I will locate the point where it's moving to. Okay. Again, I will go and use match properties to make these lines red. And so I'll say match properties, my source, make a copy of it. I'll click on that grip, I'll pull that out. I'll do the same here. And then I'll shorten that line. Okay, so this is the completion of the drawing plan. In the next exercise, I will show you how to put the dimensions on it. Before we do that, we need to center the drawing on the paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this line and I'm going to pull this one back because we don't need that much of that in the construction of it. And then I'm going to go and select the floor plan tab, and that'll open up the layout. And what I'll do then is double click in the viewport and center this object in the drawing. I'll then set the scale in that viewport, and so we'll set that at 1/4 of an inch equals a foot. And that's a little bit small. The exercise does call for that, but I think I'm going to bring that up just to 3/8 inch equals a foot to better use the space here. Next thing I'll do is to double click outside of the viewport and fill out the title block by double clicking on student name. And I'll put my name on that, hit enter. Be sure to fill out the proper date and proper scale. And the scale we have on this one is 3/8 of an inch equals a foot. And today's date is okay. We'll save this drawing as Lab 6. And we'll use our initials. And that completes Module 6.